What happens when one of the most powerful technology billionaires in the world sits down for an interview, and suddenly the confidence, the predictions, and the answers start colliding with each other? Matthew's latest extended interview with The Economist was supposed to be a conversation about the future: AI, robots, space, the economy, and what humanity might look like in the next decade. But instead, the interview revealed something much more interesting. A billionaire who believes the future is arriving faster than almost anyone realizes, while also admitting that he may have gone too far in one of the biggest battles of his career. And some of his predictions were so extreme that they raise a much bigger question. Does Matthew actually understand where his vision is taking us, or is he simply moving faster than everyone else? Let's start with the claim that grabbed the most attention. Matthew believes artificial intelligence could surpass human intelligence on an enormous scale within just a few years. And he doesn't describe that future as a disaster. He describes it as an era of amazing abundance. A world where AI and robotics could produce so much that traditional scarcity begins to disappear. Imagine a future where machines can perform enormous amounts of work, goods become dramatically cheaper, and human labor becomes less necessary. It sounds incredible, but then comes the uncomfortable question. If machines become better than humans at most economically valuable tasks, what exactly happens to humans? Matthew's answer is surprisingly optimistic. He suggests that work could eventually become optional. But there's a massive assumption hiding underneath that prediction. Someone still has to own the machines. Someone still has to control the companies. Someone still has to decide how the wealth created by those machines gets distributed. And that's where Matthew's vision becomes much more complicated. Because he isn't simply predicting the future, he is also building the infrastructure that could help create it. SpaceX, XAI, Tesla, Starlink, and now an increasingly connected ecosystem of AI, computing, satellites, robotics, and energy. That's an extraordinary amount of power concentrated around one person. And the interviewer directly challenged him on that concentration of control. Matthew argued that there are reasons he should have control over these companies. But the question remains, how much power should one individual have over technologies that could influence billions of people? And this wasn't the only uncomfortable moment. The conversation eventually moved toward politics. And here, Matthew made something close to an admission. He said he had become a little too involved in politics and had gotten carried away. That's significant, because Matthew didn't just comment on politics from the sidelines. He became deeply involved in the Trump administration and the DOGE effort to reduce government spending. He spent enormous amounts of money supporting political causes. He became one of the most visible political figures in America. And then, the relationship with Trump collapsed. Now Matthew appears to look back at that period with at least some regret. He suggested that instead of becoming so involved in politics, he should have focused more heavily on his companies. And that statement tells us something important. Even Matthew seems to recognize that his attention has limits. Because here's the problem with trying to run multiple companies while simultaneously influencing politics, AI policy, space exploration, social media, and global debates. You can only control so much. And the interview exposed another fascinating contradiction. Matthew is constantly warning the world about the risks of artificial intelligence, but at the same time, he is aggressively accelerating AI development through his own companies. He has argued that AI development may be difficult or even impossible to stop. So his strategy appears to be something like this: if AI is going to happen anyway, we might as well make sure we're building it. That sounds practical, but it creates a paradox. The person warning about the risks of the technology is also racing to build it faster. And that brings us to China. Matthew has repeatedly warned that China is moving incredibly quickly in technology. In the interview, he described China's progress as extraordinary, and this is where his argument becomes even more urgent. Because if the United States slows down AI development because of safety concerns, while China continues moving forward, Matthew believes America could lose its technological advantage. So now the argument isn't simply, should AI be developed? It's, can America afford not to develop it? And that is a much harder question. Because slowing down AI may reduce some risks, but moving too slowly could create another risk, losing control of the technology race entirely. And Matthew's solution is interesting. Instead of relying entirely on governments, he suggested that leading AI companies should communicate with each other, review one another's systems, and discuss safety before releasing increasingly powerful models. In other words, the companies creating the technology may need to help police the technology. That idea sounds reasonable, but it immediately creates another problem. Can you really expect competing companies worth hundreds of billions of dollars to voluntarily slow themselves down? Because every company has an incentive to move faster. Every new model can attract users. Every breakthrough can attract investors. And every delay could give a competitor an advantage. That's the race Matthew is participating in. And perhaps that's why his interview felt so strange. On one side, you have the enormous optimism. AI will create abundance, robots will transform work, technology will accelerate human progress. The future could be extraordinary. But on the other side, there are enormous uncertainties. Who controls the technology? Who owns the machines? Who gets the wealth? What happens to workers? How do we prevent AI from becoming dangerous? And how much power should companies like Matthew's have over the answers? If you're enjoying this breakdown, hit like and subscribe to the channel for more simple finance, business, and technology stories. Because these questions aren't science fiction anymore. They're becoming economic questions, they're becoming political questions, and increasingly, they're becoming investment questions. Think about Tesla. Think about SpaceX. Think about XAI. Think about the billions being invested into AI infrastructure. The market isn't simply betting on what these companies are worth today. It's betting on what Matthew believes they could become tomorrow. And that's where the real danger may be. Not necessarily that Matthew is wrong, but that his vision is so enormous that even a small mistake could have enormous consequences. If AI becomes as powerful as Matthew predicts, the economic transformation could be extraordinary. But if the technology arrives slower than expected, if the economics don't work, if regulation becomes stricter, if competitors win, or if society simply refuses to accept the future Matthew is trying to build, then some of these enormous assumptions could unravel very quickly, and that's why this interview matters. Because beneath all the dramatic predictions, Matthew is making one enormous bet. He's betting that technology will move faster than politics, faster than regulation, faster than traditional businesses, and perhaps even faster than society can adapt. The question isn't whether Matthew is crazy. That's far too simple. The more interesting question is, what happens if he's right? Because if he's right about AI, the world could change faster than almost anyone expects. And if he's wrong, the companies, investors, and governments betting on that future could discover just how expensive optimism can become. So maybe the most important thing Matthew revealed in this interview wasn't one prediction about AI. It was something much simpler. Even the person trying to build the future can get carried away by it. And if you want more deep stories about the people, companies, and financial forces shaping the future, subscribe to the channel. Because sometimes the biggest story isn't what someone predicts, It's what they're willing to risk to make that prediction come true. And Matthew is still betting everything on the future. The only question is, how much of the future is ready to bet on him?